next panelist is Divine Muragijimana. She is the Chief of Brand at Cellulant. She is a storyteller at heart. Divine is responsible for Cellulant's brand image. She's experienced in just marketing and has a lot of experience working in different markets. Started working, from US-based firm, started her own company, and came to Kenya, and now she's in Lagos. Divine ran a marketing and branding consulting firm in New York City for 7 years, so she has a lot of experience under her belt, specializing in working with growth-oriented businesses. She has also served as editor for several publications, including editor-in-chief for Applaud Africa, a Prime Africa magazine for the diaspora headquartered in New York. She's also a thought leader for African youth in the diaspora, working with different organizations, promoting inclusiveness and promoting the diaspora to invest in Africa. So I'm excited to hear her keynote and what she'll have to say to all of us. So thank you, Divine, for coming, and it's on you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited that I get to talk about a lot. So I'm going to spend the next maybe 20 minutes talking about something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm hoping that the guys who are here, the guys who are joining, are going to find value and then provide an avenue for conversation moving forward. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for providing this avenue for me to able to pour out my heart, as I want to say. And to just kind of set the context of what I really want to talk about, I want to just base this conversation on one of my favorite authors. If you're familiar with John Maxwell, he's an author, he's a speaker, and he's been talking about leadership for a long time. So he said that everything that is worthwhile is uphill. Sadly, many people who have uphill hopes have downhill habits. And the minute I actually heard this statement, I completely connected to it, because it has become my personal mantra that if we really want to do things that matter, if we really want to experience life at its fullest, if you want to be on a relentless journey of searching and building and being transformational, then you have to be bringing the best of self to the table. You have to actually do the hard work of bringing your best self to the table. And I believe that the pursuit of doing what really matters is the best thing that you can do with your life. It's the best thing that you can do when it comes to how you spend your time in this earth. And that the best thing and how you bring out the best of your work is actually to bring the best out of yourself. So the good news is that everybody has the opportunity to do this, but the tough news is that the journey is actually tough. It's actually tough to be able to spend a lot of time realizing who you are, realizing your passion, realizing what matters, and spending your life and your time doing that work. So today I'm hoping that I'm speaking to young leaders, businesses, innovators, young entrepreneurs, and really people who are committed to the transformational journey of Africa, because we have a beautiful continent that has both great challenges and great opportunities. But as a self-proclaimed storyteller, it wouldn't be a good place to start if I don't tell you a little bit about my story and how I ended up here. I'm actually in Abuja. And when I look at my life, I call myself a daughter of the soil, a global citizen, a true believer in the potential of Africa and Africans. I was born in Burundi, raised in Kenya, and then I grew up in the US, but I truly found myself when I came back when I came back to Africa, when I came back to the homeland. So after 15 years of being away from the continent and being away from home, I knew that I needed to come home. I needed to come back. I needed to return because at any point in my life, any point in those 15 years, the journey always pointed me back home. The journey always pointed me here. So in 2015, in what was supposed to be a one-week trip, and actually was supposed to be a one-week interview trip, I packed 2 suitcases, and 5 years later, I have not looked back. It's been a tough journey. It's been exciting. It's been difficult. But I think when I think about the journey, not a single day goes by that I'm not thankful that I am here, I am joining a mission with passionate people and young people that are doing amazing work across the continent. So I've been asked several times, why have I stayed? Why have I stayed back? Why have I stayed in Africa? Why have I not gone back to New York, for example? And if I was to be honest, I actually did want to go back. I've thought about going back many times because the journey has not been easy. I'm not going to lie and say that it has. But I find myself grounded in this mission of transformation and transforming Africa in a lifetime. And that mission is refusing to let me go. So I'm here to stay. So I want to be looking at the opportunity in Africa, because if some of you have been interacting with me, for those people who know me, you know that I'm very passionate about the continent. I'm passionate about this idea that Africans are the people who are actually going to be able to transform this continent. And the challenges in Africa, the challenges we face as Africans, the only people who are actually going to solve them, and the only people who are going to find the solutions for those problems are the guys who are seated and living in this continent. Because today, I believe that we have the opportunity as young people, opportunity as young Africans to shape the narrative of Africa. Not as a single story, not that Africa is one market, but as a tapestry of beautifully woven stories of transformation and change, from South Africa to Cairo, from Morocco to Tanzania, from Nairobi to Lagos. Beautiful stories that are changing and innovating around the problems that we face as a continent. And selfishly, as a brand storyteller, of course, I want to tell that story. But more than that, I want to be part of the story. I want to be part of this generation of young men and women who actually take the bull by the horn and understand the challenges ahead of us, and actually decide that, one, Africa deserves the best of us, that we as Africans deserve the best of ourselves. And then we put in the hard work to transform the continent. So I speak confidently, and you might wonder why my confidence is so high. It's because I've seen it every day. So every day I go to work, I come into work with my colleagues at Cellulant, and I see that, the actual work of transformation is possible. I see a team of diehards who are on a mission to change the status quo. I see a team that believes at the heart of transformation for Africa is actually the people. That actually, for us to change and transform Africa, there's a lot of hard work. So these diehard teams at Cellulant inspire me to wake up every day and see Africa not for the challenges that are there, but for the opportunities that are ahead of us. And why does it matter that we transform Africa? Why does it matter, this thing I'm calling transformation? Because I believe that Africa is a marvel. This beautiful continent of ours is a marvel. And it's a continent of contradictions. So you can see that over the last centuries, and historically, we've been able to achieve great things. If you look at the Pyramid of Giza, the Great Zimbabwe, we've innovated around mathematics. I mean, if you look at the inventions and innovations early on, they all almost started in Africa. You see things like today we see things like M-Pesa, M-Kopa, ICA, all these innovations that are changing how Africans live and do work. Yet, the statistics are actually, on the other hand, showing us that we have so many challenges. So we've seen, on one hand, that we can actually innovate. On one hand, we've shown that we can actually transform this continent. But on the other hand, the statistics are showing us that, actually, this thing we're calling transformation is so far, because we have so many challenges as a continent. If you're familiar with Frantz Fanon, he's one of my favorite philosophers, and he said, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission. They either fulfill it or betray it. And so today, and every day moving forward, I'm hoping that people have come to this conference, that people are here today because you actually want to fulfill this mission. And what is this mission, you might actually ask? I believe that as innovators, as young Africans, as business owners, we are faced with one of the greatest missions of our time. And that is to change and transform Africa in our lifetime, and to make sure that it happens while we're here. And because it matters so much, it's a mission that I think we can't fail. It's a mission that we look at and we cannot fail because it matters. And it matters because, let's look at the statistics. roughly 60% of Africans are financially excluded. And as a result, they can't access to financial services that enable them to improve their life. It matters because roughly 20% of Africans are actually chronically undernourished. That's roughly 257 million people in Africa who are undernourished. It matters that 1/3 of young people are unemployed, and another third, they are vulnerably employed, means that they're underemployed. It matters that 70% of Africans who are working do not have enough money to meet their basic needs or do that sustainably. So these statistics should actually keep us awake. As we're talking about fintech, as we're talking about transformation, as we're talking about the next steps, we should really think about the statistics, and they should keep us awake, because if we don't change these statistics today, they'll become our reality in the future. So here's the good news. The good news is that making the change and making the transformation and actually changing these statistics is possible. The challenge is that actually is the uncomfortable news that I have for everybody. So uncomfortable news is that not only can you solve it, but solving them is going to be hard work. And this really becomes the heart of my message, that to truly transform Africa, to really make sure that 1/3 of Africans who are unemployed have jobs, to make sure that 257 million people actually have access to food, to make sure that 60% of Africans have access to financial services, is going to take hard work. We spend a lot of time, and that is the thing, it's human nature. We spend a lot of time talking about the challenges in Africa, the opportunities in Africa, and how great it will be to transform Africa. And I'm sure you've had this conversation. I'm sure when you're hanging out with your friends or you're in a business conference, it is the best thing to talk about. You talk about, yes, Africa has challenges. Yes, Africa has opportunities. And we talk about the opportunities and how fantastic and this wonderful utopia that we see of Africa when we actually solve those problems. But very little time is spent on actually talking about what is it going to take for us to actually see that transformation. So we spend a lot of time talking about it, and then we look at this thing we call transformation and we think, okay, yes, we can transform Africa. Yes, we should transform Africa. And everybody agrees. I don't think anybody disagrees that we need to do the work of transformation, making sure that we change the statistics. But we refuse to acknowledge that it is going to take hard work. And we actually refuse to decide to do the hard work. At some point, we have decided not to do the work. Because there is a price to pay for you to actually transform a continent of this magnitude of problems. You look at the number of people who are actually, let's just look at the 257 million people who are undernourished. If you look at the magnitude of the problem, it might actually scare you, because it's big. 257 million people on any given day, it's a lot of people. But there's a price to pay. For you to change that statistic, there's a price to pay. And here, I'm here to argue that the actual price is not the hard work that you have to do. It is not the money that we have to invest in the problem. It's the actual self-transformation, the thing we are calling deciding to make the change, that is the price. The price of this transformation is self. And if I was to be honest, I've actually struggled with this concept, because it's hard. It's hard to imagine that you have to sacrifice yourself. You bring yourself to the table differently for you to see the change that you want to see. Because it's easy, and I've been in this rabbit hole. It's easy to talk about how transformation is going to happen. It's easy to be passionate, because you find yourself in a place where you say, I'm a very passionate person. It is easy to talk about how great it will be when we see where we have unemployment rate dropping. But here's the problem. It's that today, the society and everything around us is telling us it's easy, has ingrained in us that everything that we want to achieve is easy. And this is what I'm calling the microwave mentality. And so for those young people who are here, I am I'm going to apologize in advance, but also I'm asking that for you to allow me to talk about this mentality, because it is going to be the biggest challenge for us if we really want to transform Africa. So the microwave mentality tells us, you know, if you want a tea, so if you want a cup of tea today, what you do, you go and put a tea bag in cold water, you put it in the microwave, 1 minute later, you have your tea. So it's easy. In 1 minute, you want tea, in 1 minute, you get tea. But the truth of the matter is that you can't actually have a good cup of tea if you don't take the time to make it properly. This microwave mentality tells us that it's easy to get a job after college, that actually getting a job after college is our right. And we need to start with that 4-figure, you know, that 4-figure salary, because you went to college, why not? But the truth of the matter, you can't actually discount experience to deliver excellence in your work. So you actually have to put in the work. So in the end, we have a generation of young people and young Africans who are very delusioned, completely disappointed that our unemployment rate is not getting better, that we don't have access to adequate infrastructure, that we don't have access to financial services. So somewhere in our journey, we have become so delusioned because in our thought of making things happen, in our thought of wanting things to change in Africa, we have actually thought that it will be easy. We've actually delusioned ourselves that the work is going to be easy. So wanting to change and wanting to transform is no longer enough. So for every young person that is here, for every person who is listening, wanting to change is not enough. Wanting for Africa to transform is no longer enough, because the challenges ahead of us, they're so big that they actually deserve for us to do the hard work. So let me break the bubble for those people and for ourselves. And this is based on my experience that everything that matters takes hard work. So if you really want to do some work that matters, you really have to put in the work. It takes willingness to do the hard work. It takes willingness to go uphill. It takes willingness to not only want to change and not only want to transform Africa, but to actually do the hard work of transforming yourself, how you see yourself, how you bring yourself to the table in order to see that transformation, in order to actually start working towards that transformation. So the first thing, I will give you about 4 things that you need to do. The first thing is that you actually need to be willing to take the risk. As I said, we refuse to acknowledge that 1, it's going to take hard work to transform. Second, we have refused to acknowledge that we have to decide to do the hard work in order to transform ourselves and then, as a result, transform this continent. So the first thing we need to do is actually acknowledge that we want to take the risk. And I'll give you a personal story, and this has just happened recently. I recently got the opportunity, as of last year, I was asked to join the team in Nigeria. And I can tell you that it was one of the hardest things that I've ever experienced, and one of the hardest decisions I've had to make, because I didn't actually know what was ahead of me. I have been comfortable. I had gotten into a place, I've been in Nairobi for 5 years and had gotten into my zone. If those people who understand, I had gotten into my zone. And I was really happy in Nairobi. I had met friends in Nairobi and I really understood Nairobi. So then this opportunity has dropped in and they're asking me to join the team in Nigeria. So the first thing with that decision is that it was a territory itself, so Nigeria. So if you guys have had the news, you know. So the first thing I thought about was, my God, do I have the tough skin that I'll need in order to thrive? The second thing was the mission. So I was told to come and join a team in Nigeria, but the mission was to come in, join a team of young businesses, innovators, communities, entrepreneurs, and our colleagues to feed Nigeria. And as a result, creating 1 million jobs. So for those people who don't know, Nigeria has 200 million. So let me say roughly 200 million people. It's a country that has 200 million people. And I was told to come and join a movement to feed Nigeria. Join a movement where we're going to be creating 1 million jobs. Now this scared me a lot. I mean, it was very scary. And even to this, I'm not going to lie and tell you that even to this day, it doesn't scare me, it scares me. So at the end of the day, I actually ended up saying yes. Because when I thought about it, the sheer size of the goal not only scared me, but actually excited me. So in the end, I jumped in, my heart went in first and my head followed. Because I realized if you succeed at feeding Nigeria, if you succeed at creating 1 million jobs, we'll have changed the statistics completely. We'll have enabled food security. We'll have been providing income security. We'll be providing job opportunities. And at the end of this, not only will we have created opportunities for Nigerians who will be financially included, but we have transformed an entire nation. So I could lie to you and tell you that it's been easy. I could lie to you and tell you that I'm excited every morning. It's not true. Because to tell you the truth, it's hard. Making a move and making any transition is hard. But every time I think about getting up the mountain and getting up the hill, where I'm seeing, every day I'm seeing stories of young people who are actually being transformed by the work we're doing, it's worth it. It's hard work, but it's worth it. So I'm hoping that for those who have joined us today, you are here because you really want to take a risk. So the number one thing, take the risk. The next thing is that you actually need to decide that you want to be on a journey of self-transformation. You have to be clear-minded about your skills. You have to be passionate about what you really want to do. You have to be passionate that you actually want to build something great. Because if you've been in the panel before, you know the statistics. You already know that things are not easy, that it's actually by doing something great and by willing to build the skills that you actually come to start the journey of transformation for this continent. And the third thing you need to do is ask yourself, who do I need to become? What is the person? Who is this person that can transform Africa? Who do I need to become in order for me to realize the dreams that I've set for myself? Because Africa, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. I keep saying you don't have to start your own business. You don't have to join the journey of many entrepreneurs in Africa. But I think that for every sector, for every area, and for every challenge, it will take a myriad of skills. So you have to apply yourself and understand what skills do I bring to the table and what do I really want to do? And then apply yourself and say, what do I need to become? What is that person that do I need to become in order for me to realize the dreams I have for myself and for Africa? The fourth thing I want you to do is now roll out your sleeves and get to work. And this one requires 3 qualities. And I will just wrap up with these 3 qualities. The first thing you need to do is be a person who perseveres. If the honest truth, and if somebody is actually telling you the honest truth about being in Africa, working in Africa, being on a journey of transformation for Africa, they will tell you that there's nothing about this journey of transformation that is easy. Will you enjoy the journey? I can tell you from my personal experience, guaranteed the journey will be worth your while. Will it be hard work? Absolutely. So you need to persevere. You need to know that things will get tough and be prepared for it. You need to know that things, if they're, your friends and your colleagues and leaders actually are honest with you, they'll tell you that things never go as planned. Your business might fail. You might not get the job that you want. You might not start the journey that at the time or the place that you wanted. Your dreams, and these dreams might falter at first, and they might not work out at the first attempt. That grant you wanted for the business might not come through. And the natural thing will be to give up. Don't. The second thing I want you to think about is, when you're thinking about self-transformation, is consistency. You see, when things are tough, everyone and everything around you will tell you to quit. Everything, if you talk about entrepreneurship in Africa, everything around you will tell you to quit because it's hard work. But I want you to think about what it is going to be like when you achieve your dreams, because you need to stay firm. You need to be unwavering. Get up every morning. Take another step. Commit the time. Commit the skill, the learning that is needed for you to become the better person that allows you to cope with the challenges ahead, because there is nothing about this journey that is going to be easy. So you have to be consistent. You have to get up every morning, one step after the other, to make sure that you learn to cope and become better. The next thing, and the third one is the most important one, become teachable. Now, this is probably the hardest thing that is going to be, I think the hardest thing for us to become is teachable, because it's natural as a human being to be used to doing the things I used to. You know, we are creatures of habits. So the things I did yesterday is the thing I'm going to do today. We want to do things the way we're used to. But for you to really be able to be transformational and also actually become the person that you want in order to get to that journey of transformation, is to be teachable, is to be, and to allow yourself to be adaptable. Because here's the thing, you can't grow and still remain the same place. You cannot actually cling to the status quo and claim you want to become transformational. So expand your horizons, develop new ways of coping with any challenges that might come your way. And anytime that you need to learn, get people like mentors. Because the only attribute, if you have not listened to anything I've said, the only attribute for you to become a transformational leader and a transformational human being for Africa is to become teachable. So today, I have the question for all of you today. Do you have what it takes to be part of this generation of young Africans who will transform the continent in this lifetime? I hope so. I really hope so. So clap yourself for being here. Be happy, and I want to clap for you actually for having made it this far. But I hope that you have decided to become part of the generation that is going to transform Africa, because truly, Africa deserves the best of us. And we as Africans deserve the best of us. So here's to every leader and every young person who is joining this journey of transforming a continent, that if we do the right things, we'll see Africa become the greatest in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Divine. Thank you so much for your keynote. Very powerful.